I think in that movie, the scenario will be that I will come back to the current time.
Before Roger Spottiswoode created cinema's most prescient cloning thriller,
so before we started shooting that was kind of the voice of the music.
The Sixth Day was dismissed as another Schwarzenegger action movie. By critics who completely missed its sophisticated exploration of identity and corporate bioethics. The cast has finally revealed secrets that will transform your understanding of the film that predicted CRISPR, genetic engineering debates, and the ethical nightmares of human cloning with disturbing accuracy 2 decades before they became mainstream concerns.
Once again, you got to turn it around, let it come from the subject. You got to let the actor do what he does, really.
The script that predicted our genetic future. What most fans don't realize is that The Sixth Day was based on extensive consultation with actual geneticists and bioethicists who warned that human cloning was closer than anyone publicly acknowledged. The film's technological predictions weren't science fiction fantasy. They were extrapolations from real research that made studio executives uncomfortable with how plausible the nightmare scenario actually was. Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed years later his shock at learning the science was real. "I thought we were making science fiction thriller, but the scientists we consulted said everything in the film was theoretically possible with technology that already existed or was close to development. That terrified me because it meant the ethical questions weren't abstract. They were immediate." The actor's concern reflected widespread anxiety about genetic engineering's rapid advancement. Cormac and Marianne Wibberley disclosed their research process for the screenplay. "We interviewed geneticists who were doing cloning research and bioethicists who were already debating the implications. Many told us off the record that human cloning attempts were probably already happening in unregulated countries. The film's premise that corporations would clone people illegally wasn't far-fetched speculation. The scientific foundation made the thriller disturbingly credible. The identity crisis that nobody expected. The film's core question about whether a clone is the same person or a different individual wasn't just a philosophical device. It was genuine exploration of consciousness and identity that challenged audience assumptions. What Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed about playing both versions of Adam Gibson shows how the performance explored whether memory and personality define identity or if physical continuity matters more. Arnold Schwarzenegger disclosed his approach to playing original and clone. "I had to decide if they were the same person or different people who happened to share memories. I played them with subtle differences. The clone is slightly off, not quite right in ways that are hard to identify." The uncanny valley wasn't just visual, it was behavioral and psychological. The performance nuances created an unsettling sense of wrongness. The film's suggestion that the clone might actually be a better version of the original challenged comfortable assumptions about authenticity and improvement. "The clone doesn't have the original's bad habits, injuries, or psychological baggage," noted the screenwriters. "In some ways, he's an upgrade." The film asked whether that makes him less real or more desirable, which disturbed audiences who wanted clear moral positions. The repet that made cloning acceptable. The film's commercial pet cloning service wasn't satirical exaggeration. It was accurate prediction of how cloning would be normalized through animals before humans. What the cast revealed about the repet concept shows how the film understood that society would accept genetic engineering incrementally through emotionally compelling applications that bypass ethical scrutiny through grief and love. The repet stores, with their cheerful commercialization of resurrection through cloning, represented the film's sharpest social satire. "We showed cloning being marketed like any consumer product, convenient, affordable, and presented as natural extension of pet care," disclosed the production designers. The normalization of bringing dead pets back to life was the first step toward accepting human cloning as just another service. Arnold Schwarzenegger noted how the pet cloning subplot revealed character values. Adam's resistance to cloning his dog showed his ethical instincts even before he understood the implications. His wife's willingness to do it demonstrated how grief overcomes ethical considerations. The corporate villainy that felt too real. Michael Drucker and his Replacement Technologies Corporation weren't cartoonish villains. They were accurate portrayal of how biotech companies would operate in moral gray areas while using humanitarian language to justify profit-driven research. What Robert Duvall revealed about his character shows how the film depicted corporate logic that prioritizes innovation over ethics while claiming to serve humanity. Robert Duvall disclosed his interpretation of Drucker's motivations. He genuinely believes he's helping humanity by conquering death and disease through cloning. The fact that he's breaking laws and creating ethical nightmares doesn't matter to him because he sees himself as visionary, who understands what lesser minds cannot accept. This mindset isn't villainous. It's how actual tech innovators justify questionable work. The character's sincere belief in his mission made him more disturbing than simple greed-driven villain. The film's portrayal of Replacement Technologies as legitimate corporation with illegal black market division predicted how biotech companies would operate. We showed the company doing legal therapeutic cloning research while secretly cloning humans, noted the screenwriters. This dual operation where public face conceals illegal work became the standard model for how companies in ethically questionable fields actually operate. Legal research providing cover for unregulated experimentation. The action sequences that served the theme. The film's elaborate chase and fight scenes weren't just spectacle. They were carefully designed to explore implications of cloning technology. What the stunt coordinators revealed about creating these sequences shows how action served thematic purposes by making the audience confront the horror of watching clones die repeatedly without permanent consequences. The decision to have villains who could be repeatedly cloned and returned to life transformed typical action movie mortality. When you kill someone who can be brought back through cloning, death loses meaning, disclosed Roger Spottiswoode. The action scenes where the same villain keeps returning after being killed forced audiences to confront that nightmare, a world where consequences can be erased through technology. Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed how fighting his own clone created unique action challenge. The climactic fight where I'm battling myself was technically complex, but thematically crucial. The audience had to see two identical people fighting and question which one they were rooting for and why. The action made the identity crisis concrete rather than abstract. The physical confrontation externalized the philosophical dilemma. The family theme that nobody discussed. The film's emotional core about a man fighting to return to his family wasn't just motivation. It was exploration of what makes family relationships real and whether they can be replicated through cloning. What the cast revealed about these themes shows how the film asked whether love and connection are tied to specific physical bodies or if they can transfer to genetically identical replacements. The central question of whether Adam's family would accept his clone as their husband and father if they didn't know about the substitution challenged romantic notions about authentic connection. The film asked if your wife and daughter could love a clone of you exactly as they loved you. What does that say about the nature of your relationships? Disclosed the writers. Are we interchangeable as long as memories and behavior remain consistent? Arnold Schwarzenegger noted how the family stakes elevated the action beyond typical Schwarzenegger vehicles. This wasn't just about saving the world. It was about saving one man's right to exist and return to his family. The personal stakes made the sci-fi premise emotionally grounded in universal fears about being replaced and losing the people you love. The domestic focus humanized the high-concept premise. The religious objections that sparked controversy. The film's title referencing the sixth day of biblical creation when God created humanity wasn't subtle. It was deliberate provocation about humans playing God through cloning. What the cast revealed about religious backlash shows how the film's theological implications made it controversial beyond typical action movie violence, with religious groups protesting the premise that humans could replicate God's creative power. Religious organizations protested the film for suggesting human cloning was technologically achievable rather than blasphemous impossibility. Christian groups argued the film normalized playing God and made cloning seem acceptable. disclosed studio marketing teams. The protests created controversy that actually helped marketing by making the film seem more provocative and culturally relevant than typical action fare. The film's title and Sixth Day references forced audiences to confront religious implications of cloning technology. Whether you're religious or not, the question of whether humans should replicate God's creation of life resonates culturally, noted Robert Duvall. The film made the ethical debate unavoidable by explicitly connecting cloning to creation theology. Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed his own religious perspective informed his approach. "I was raised Catholic and understand the theological concerns about humans creating life. Adam's journey forced me to examine my own beliefs about what makes life sacred and whether technology threatens that sanctity." The personal engagement with religious themes elevated the material beyond action entertainment. The box office disappointment that obscured quality. The Sixth Day's modest box office performance relative to expectations wasn't creative failure. It was marketing problem and audience fatigue with Schwarzenegger vehicles. What the cast revealed about the commercial disappointment shows how the film's sophistication worked against it in market that wanted straightforward action rather than ethical complexity and philosophical questions about identity. The film's $96 million worldwide gross against an $82 million budget meant marginal profitability that disappointed expectations for Schwarzenegger's star vehicle. Arnold was coming off several underperforming films and audiences were losing interest in his action formula, disclosed studio executives. The Sixth Day's complexity and darker themes made it harder to market as typical Schwarzenegger entertainment, which limited its commercial appeal. The timing between Schwarzenegger's action career and his political ambitions meant reduced promotion and distraction. Arnold was already considering running for California governor, which meant he wasn't fully committed to promoting the film, revealed the marketing team. His divided attention signaled that even he wasn't fully invested in the traditional action career that made him famous. Roger Spottiswoode noted how the film needed smarter marketing that emphasized the prescient science. "We should have positioned it as serious science fiction thriller rather than action vehicle. The ethical questions and technological predictions were the film's real strengths, but marketing emphasized explosions and Arnold's star power instead." The misaligned marketing undermined the film's actual sophistication. The legacy that became more relevant. The Sixth Day's influence grew as genetic engineering advanced from theoretical to practical reality, making its warnings increasingly relevant. What bioethicists revealed about using the film in educational contexts shows how it became teaching tool for discussing real genetic engineering ethics and corporate biotechnology regulation that society must address urgently. The film is now regularly screened in bioethics courses and medical school seminars as conversations starter about cloning ethics. The Sixth Day dramatizes complex ethical questions in an accessible way that generates productive discussion, disclosed bioethics professors. Students engage with the moral dilemmas more readily through the film's narrative than through academic papers about abstract scenarios. The specific technologies depicted, therapeutic cloning, memory transfer, genetic trait selection, have all advanced from fiction toward reality since 2000. Every technology in the film is now either possible or actively being researched, noted genetic engineering experts. The Sixth Day's speculative near future has become our present reality, which makes rewatching it genuinely unsettling. Watch the film again with appreciation for its prescient predictions about genetic engineering, its sophisticated exploration of identity and consciousness, and its urgent warnings about corporate biotechnology that remain unheeded. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into science fiction that predicted our technological future with disturbing accuracy. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads, and let us know in the comments whether you think human cloning is inevitable or avoidable. If you really want to live forever, you have to be willing to change.